Countdown to kickoff, heading out to New England with Guregian of the Boston Herald. Let's talk some Patriots football for a little bit. They got all these guys that may be considered just a level below those that signed with the Eagles or maybe did not have a huge spotlight. But do these guys feel like not having that spotlight going into the season is more of a positive thing?
What do you mean? They're not a dream team? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I really don't think the Patriots pay attention to any of what's going on outside of their own little cocoon. And that's by design. That's how Bill Belichick runs the ship. I think they would love being under the radar if that's how they're being portrayed. But I think when you bring in a guy like Albert Haynesworth, in a Chad Ochocinco, it's hard for attention not to be put on you. And I think there has been a fair amount of attention because people want to see how a malcontent like Albert Haynesworth will or won't work out in New England. They want to see how a flamboyant free spirit like Ochocinco works out or doesn't work out in the Patriot offense. So I think there is attention, but I don't think the players care one lick if other teams are getting more.
I wanted to talk to you about Haynesworth and Ochocinco. They're two men that they're clearly talented, but their shadow of controversy in the past will always follow them wherever they go. Have their voices been heard in camp?
Let's start with Haynesworth. He finally got to see him. By people, I mean fans. He played parts of a half, and his very, very first play, he knocked an offensive guard into the quarterback, and his reputation when he's playing is being a disruptive force on the defensive line, and people here want that Albert Haynesworth. They want that mean guy who's going to dominate offensive linemen, and they got to see a little bit of that last night. After the game, he talked about how happy he was here, how he wished he had chosen New England when he was a free agent. He would have traded in all the money he got in Washington to be here because he seems to like the system they play. He's not expected to play every down. They have a rotation, and boy, he seemed to be in love with the whole thing. As for Ochocinco, he's had perfect attendance. He's worked very, very hard. He's done his best to keep a lid on some of his flamboyant ways, shall we say. And he hasn't really cut down on his tweeting, but he hasn't been quite the entertainer. But then again, he hasn't done much. done much on the field, to celebrate. It's tough. Of anybody without, he got traded here. He hasn't had a lot of time to kind of, he's like cramming in a new offense, and it's not an easy offense. What's expected here is different than what's expected other places. And to try and dial up instant chemistry with Brady and to dial up knowing this offense inside and out, it's just not easy. Some people, like a Randy Moss, it came to quickly. It's just not coming quickly to Ochocinco. But again, the task is pretty daunting. He's been here a month, and he just doesn't look comfortable yet.
Well, let me ask you then, because there's a lot of politics that obviously go into a team, and coaches may pick favorites. Wes Welker and Deion Branch, they're both pretty damn good receivers, if you ask me. How did they react when Ochocinco was signed and when he was brought into camp?
Well, I think they all recognize after what happened to them in the playoffs with the Jets is that they need a viable third receiver. They need a third option. Whether it's a guy who can take the top off a defense, a long speed threat on the outside, or just a good third option. And Ochocinco doesn't have the wheels he had 5 years ago, and might not be the speed guy, might not be able to get that separation that he did, but he still has a reputation as a very good route runner. And if he can run good routes and get open, he will provide that good third receiver option, so that if Branch and Welker are bottled up or covered in the zones or in the man coverage that the Jets put out there, there's still Ochocinco. The Patriots just didn't have that third guy last year.
So clearly there's a hole being filled there, which is always a positive for the team. Let's talk more about the defense then. They were 25th in the league last year, surrendering 360 yards per game. Now almost 22 first downs per game. On third down, they were one of the worst teams in the league. How have they improved the defense then from last season?
Well, they basically got a ton of guys up front between Ellis and Haynesworth and Andre Carter, and it's going to start up front with the defensive line. They're going to help their pass rush, and third down will improve if they can generate the push up front that they just haven't had.
Last question for you, Karen. The over-under is set at 11.5 wins for the Patriots this year. What's your take on that? What do you think?
It'll be right around that. 14-2, no one expected that last year, and I can't sit here and tell you they're going to repeat 14 wins, but I can see 11 or 12 looking at the schedule and looking at an improved defense, again, assuming Albert comes to play. So,
if you had to pick, would you go over or under, though?
11. I'll have them at 12, so I'll go over.
All right, there you go.